Hey everybody, welcome back to class. We're on week 6. How about that? I think I start every one of these videos with, how about that? Because it really goes fast. Now if you've looked at the syllabus, hopefully you have, or the schedule that we're doing here, you will have noticed that we're getting closer to or not closer, but we're into now the I would say maybe the application side or the action side of what we've been talking about so far in this class. And so we're going to take that a first step towards the action part of this. And I guess I should say, why is it action side? Because we have some assignments of something more to do, more application side of this. And so the topic for this week is on purpose. And if you're new to this, and maybe you are, maybe you aren't, as far as, if this makes sense for you, but there's a lot of research to support knowing your life purpose and how that may help you in lots of ways. And the book we're going to read this week, or selected chapters out of the book anyway, are going to talk about a lot of those things, and so this might be new for you, and hopefully so. Hopefully it is, and you can get an appreciation for this. And I think, and I guess maybe I should step back. So the book is Life on Purpose. Vic Strecker is the author of this book, and I put a link also to one of his TED Talks that he did, and I think it helps to give an idea. First of all, the TED Talks, do an overview of the topic, and I think it's a nice way to get a sense of what he's saying in the book from a high level view first, from the TED Talks, from that kind of angle. But so it's like TED Talk style. It's only it's less than 20 minutes long in that way. One of the things that I hope that you get from this is going to the practical side of this, in saying, okay, if I know or if I have some sense of where I'm going, some sense of purpose in not just one aspect of life, but perhaps multiple aspects of life, then it's good for my health, but it's also good for my relationships, particularly from a leadership side of things. And so we're not going to read the entire book, but I cut out some chapters only because it's a lot to read in 1 week, and we're going to move on to another topic next week. But if you want to read the whole thing, do so. But you may, if it's too much for this week, that's fine. You may pick it up after the class is finished and read the rest of it. So just to kind of give a recap of why is this in here? What does this have to do with holism? As we have kind of come through this journey so far, what we are really building up to, and we haven't necessarily used this language so much in here yet, but is talking about being more contemplative, and by that I would say maybe a greater sense of consciousness, a deeper knowing, a deeper awareness, and not just of the world around us, but within ourselves. So I think there's an exterior and an interior consciousness that we have been working towards. And certainly the last week, and looking at true self versus separate self, I think has a little bit of that connection there of knowing a bit more about yourself. And so here's how this ties into purpose, in that I think the greater level awareness, a greater sense of consciousness that we have, both in the interior side, but also exterior, can say a lot about what is ours to do, meaning like, what is our purpose? What is ours to do in this life? And so often I feel like we get because we've done the chronically American journey of saying so much of our culture is surrounded by achievement and what that looks like as far as social acceptance from the outside of what I want people to think of me and see me as. But a deeper sense of consciousness says, there is something that is mine to do, and it's probably not everything, right? I mean, there's so much we could be doing. There's probably not room for all of that. As in, if I'm going to, a buffet, hopefully I don't sit down and say, I'm just going to eat the whole buffet. Hopefully it's a pick and choose. And I look at life in a very similar way, and that there's a lot of options. There's a lot of things, but what is it that's mine to do? And I think the only way we get some sense of what that is with a greater sense of consciousness. And that's where we've been, building up to that point. And so now we're there and going to look at this. What is mine to do? What is my purpose? What is it from a professional side? But what is it for the rest of me also? And I think I don't have any readings on this part, but Eckhart Tolle is an author that, best-selling author for the last, 10, 15 years or so. His books on being present is another way to say a greater sense of consciousness. In one of his books, he talks about this topic about having a purpose that is both an exterior purpose, but also an interior purpose. So, I think it's helpful to look at it in that way. And I feel like the majority of what Strecker is talking about here is really exterior purpose, where we have goals and outcomes and achievements, and that's not all, of course, that is, and he talks a great deal, beyond the surface level chronically American stuff of achievement, and how, that stuff on its own is super helpful to have a purpose, but there's an interior purpose also, and what is that? And I think it's probably something that each of us, we can only answer for ourselves, what that looks like through contemplative exercises and just being still, as we, I think, ended chronically American, and as this new sense of putting ourselves in a position to have this relational exchange with others and with all that is, gives us a sense of knowing what is ours to do. This week hopefully can push us in a direction of a bit of action, so that we're, at this point, most of what we've done and talked about in this class has really been an interior thing. Okay, so getting to know you type of, as far as ourselves go. But now what I'm hoping to do for the rest of the class is to say, okay, once we get a sense of what's going on here, then how do we translate that out and transfer that out to the rest of everything, everyone? Because I think there's, in one way, that it's great to have this interiority that is very peaceful, and at the same time, I think there's also a sense that, if we can use that out there somewhere, and use that as a sense of, I understand my place in the whole, and that this is what is mine to do. Just so some of this may be, I feel like as I'm saying this out loud, it might be a little bit confusing and a bit maybe talking in circles, but I'll just use an example for myself. So in my job at Creighton, being a professor there, there's a lot of things that I could be doing. And I always kind of like to say, opportunity is not the rate limiting step. There are lots of things that I could be doing, but how do I hold all the balance of what I could be doing and what I should be doing? What makes most sense for me and where my place is in all of this. There's always another paper to write, or always another book to do, or there's always another research project, or there's always another class that could be taught, or there's an endless number of things that could be that are options to do. And I think most of us feel like that in our jobs, that it feels sometimes like there's a never ending. There's just more work than what there is time of the day or energy, or all these things. So how do I come to terms with what is mine to do, and what is it that I leave to others to do? So now I kind of, if we go into a buffet, I'm going to sit down and look at or I'm going to walk around the buffet first and see what is mine to eat, as opposed to just grabbing a plate and starting at the front and just loading it up. So I think that is something that takes a little bit of time to work through. And your assignment for this week is, besides writing your regular reflection paper, but your assignment this week is to develop a purpose statement. And I'm going to send you my purpose statement so that you have an idea of what that might look like. And in the Blue Line site, there are steps to follow that Strecker recommends. And it's not actually in the book, and that's why I put it out separately. He had that in a separate publication that I put up a piece of that anyway. And so it can help, develop, okay, so you read this book about discovering your life purpose and knowing what that is. But developing a purpose statement is another piece of this that doesn't have a lot of details in the book. So hopefully by the end of this week, and this doesn't give you a lot of time to do this, and that's fine. I mean, so one of the things that I hope you understand about developing a purpose statement is that this changes over time. I mean, I've revised mine several times. The one that I'm going to send you is the one I've had for the last couple years, few years at least. But it's been revised a few times, and I think that's the way it should be. I think as we move forward, it is, life circumstances change, and we should be, re-looking at what our purpose is relative to our jobs and our relationship and anything, that's personal that you feel like you want to move forwards to. And I would say that's probably the exterior side of purpose. But then something that this isn't part of the assignment, but what's your interior purpose, and how does that differ from your exterior purpose? This isn't, when I wrote the purpose statement that I'm going to send to you, I didn't actually differentiate the two. I mean, I didn't even think about that until I read some of Tolle's work, and I was like, we've got an interior purpose too that is probably different from our exterior purpose, and that this one may be really action oriented and this one may be not so much. And so I think that makes sense for me now. And so that's an iterative process for me too. What is my interior purpose, and what's my exterior purpose? So it's something to think about. And so by the end of this week, and you have to send in a purpose statement as an assignment. That's really just my way of saying I want you to think about it and actually get something down on paper. But knowing that this is something that hopefully you can revisit from time to time and say, is this really matter to me now? And so am I really working towards something, and not necessarily in an achievement way, but maybe that's part of your purpose statement. I think there's some real value to that. I think sometimes I come across maybe as saying, because I do a bit of criticism on hyper achievement focus and that kind of thing, that it's not important. It is. No, it's absolutely important that we work towards something and move in a direction that creates and builds and those types of things. And so I think that's part of the purpose, particularly that Strecker talks about, is the importance of that. And because it's fun and it's motivating, and it's, a lot of people like to be creative and building something. So don't feel like you have to have the final finished perfect product by the end of this week. What I would suggest is whatever you have for a purpose statement, that you keep it in front of you somehow, or at least revisit it, from time to time, to say, is this still matter to me? Is this still important enough for me to get excited to move towards this, whatever this is? And then at the same time, not part of the assignment, but think about, what is my interior purpose? What is that? And that takes a bit of stillness in order to maybe come to some sort of what is my interior purpose. I was going to say, thinking about, or reasoning about, or but I don't think it's, your interior purpose isn't all in the mind. I don't think that we can come to a sense of what my interior purpose is just by using the mind. I think using other ways of knowing, like our heart way of knowing, or a heart brain, as some people like to say, or the knowing that I have through my body, all the senses that I use to know what I know in the whole of me. That's, I think, getting somewhere close to what is my interior purpose. So anyway, so that's this week. I hope that that makes sense. If not, I'll follow this up certainly with an email and a bit of clarifications and sending you what my purpose statement is. But if you have questions, let me know. I'm really looking forward to reading what your purpose statement might be. If you don't feel comfortable sharing, everything, then maybe you leave something out just for the sake of turning it in. I don't want you to feel like you need to, disclose everything. I certainly wouldn't share any of this with anyone, but if you don't feel comfortable putting it on for your assignment, that's fine. You can leave some pieces out and just fill in something, something else, I guess. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. So if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to reading all your good work. Talk to you soon.